Please be cautious when listening to this podcast, as some material will be sensitive to listeners. It is not advised to listen to this with children. Please note that these are works of fiction and were chosen for the express reason to broaden our literary knowledge and experience. We do not condone rape, violence, or human trafficking of any kind, and the discussion of the featured literature is solely for an almost academic purpose. The content creators would like everyone to know that there are resources available to those that need help. Please reach out. The hotlines listed in the episode description are our national hotlines and are manned 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We thank you for your understanding. We have 2 books that we read for October, both kind of scary, both kind of, Welcome back to the Pretty Little Death. I'm your host, Christina Lynn, and this is the bestie.
Cassie, hello.
And this was Cassie's pick.
Yes, this is at least the first one, which is now showing, has been on my TBR for, oh goodness, the better part of a year. I think I put it in my little Amazon wish list for since last October. I got into, I think we were reading Manacled at that time, and we were so engrossed in that book that um, I never got around to these, and then we were waiting for the perfect time to bring this up, and I'm so glad we got to it.
Me too.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, half of it.
Half of it.
Okay, so the first one was Now Showing by Maggie Fern. Goodreads shows that there is a second author. I think Amazon does too, actually. Let me see. Callie Moss. I don't know how much.
Is that a pseudonym or?
No, it says author and one other author. So Callie Moss and Maggie Fern. However, Maggie Fern is the only one on the cover of both covers of both books, because we came to find out there's 2 different covers for each of these. Now Showing is 192 pages, which is why we decided we were going to take up a second book. But let's start with the first one, because I don't know about you, but it took me a minute to get into this one.
Me too. It took me the better part of, I think, a week to even get going, getting the momentum. It was a little bit of a slow start. Actually, it was pretty slow just in general.
Yeah. And there was some tension, but I think most of the tension was because I didn't understand what the fuck was going on.
Me too. And I think we'll get into it, but I think that was one of the more difficult aspects of this book, because there's a lot of flashbacks. There's a lot of kind of ambiguity on the setting too, and I think it's supposed to be that way, but towards the end especially, I was getting very muddled as to what was going on. So let's go with just a brief synopsis, right? So there's this college girl named Felicity. I think she's like in her early 20s, maybe 18.
I think she's 22. Which seems to be the magic number for all of these pieces of shit written works, okay? Yeah. 22.
So she's 22. She's in college. There is an established relationship between her and her college professor. Definitely predatory on his part, but she doesn't really see it that way at this point in time. She believes herself to be in love with him. Um, and it's the beginning starts out with her stalking the college professor's home, and the college professor's wife comes out and slaps her,
Mm.
say, "Don't you come near my family."
Nope, 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 nope. So what happens is she is reeling because she found out he is married.
Yeah,
Um, and she has been dodging his calls. The
yeah.
professor was like, "Meet me at the diner, we'll talk about it."
Oh, that's
She
right.
goes to the diner, the professor's wife and his children pop out of a car and slap the
Mhm.
fuck out of her.
Yes,
Which, okay, I never understood this. Why would you get mad at the other woman? Get mad
I
at your
know.
man.
Nope. I think. I mean, this is a whole different conversation, but
That is
I
that is a different
think,
conversation altogether.
but it is a very common behavioral trait that people do when their person cheats. Their anger is all towards the other person because
Mhm.
they are afraid of losing the person that they have. Even though at that point you have already lost them or they've
Yeah.
already left, at least emotionally.
Yeah.
So, um,
Well, I mean, not that the other woman shouldn't have some blame, especially if, let's say, the other person.
oh,
Not should the other
1000%.
person shouldn't have some blame, especially if they know what's going on. But more often
Right.
than not, they don't,
Mm-hmm.
and
They're in
they
the
were
dark.
just as manipulated as you were. So
Mm-hmm.
if you happen to be in that space right now, we are very sorry. Your significant other is
Yeah.
deciding to step out, but let's keep a little grace in ourselves for ourselves and not just
Mm-hmm.
fly off the handle at the person that they're cheating with, because who knows what they know.
Who knows what they know? Who knows what their situation is?
Yeah,
It's yeah. So
because as we go through the story, we find out that the professor was not just having an affair. He was
yeah,
uh
full
Im-
on sexually assaulting her.
yes, assaulting his student, because she is a
Yeah.
student.
Mm-hmm.
So there are just layers of manipulation and grody-ness on top of this. Um,
Yes.
she doesn't meet with the professor. She leaves the diner after that instance. She can see him through the window, and he doesn't even know any of this is going on. Like, he didn't know his wife was there or their children are with her. So she decides to head off into the night because it's like 2 a.m. Um,
Yeah. Like a really late night dining.
it's like a
Uh,
Thursday too.
it's
Who
a
the hell
Thursday
is
night,
going
and
out
then
on a Thursday?
why is his wife and child there? That's very confusing to me.
Yeah, I think she found out just because she mentions that she found the video recordings of
Yeah.
Felicity and the professor.
Mhm.
So obviously she found out, because otherwise, why the hell would she be there? But I think maybe like there's an iCloud type situation going on. I don't know how iCloud works because I
Okay.
don't have an Apple
Neither do
product,
I.
but I know I listen to a
Yeah.
lot of Reddit stories on YouTube. Um, I think maybe there's something going on where she found the messages and knew that they were meeting. So I think that's why she's there. But Felicity runs off into the night, ditches the whole situation, and come upon like the only movie theater in town. And it's like, I
Yes.
want I want a ticket. Just, I don't care where it is. They're like, okay, well, we are showing movies until like 4, so there you go. Go into this theater,
Hmm.
and she does. And
She goes into the movie and then she doesn't she fall asleep, or it's
yeah, she's like
believed.
crying and passes
Yeah.
out or something. It's so weird.
I think she sits down at in the theater, and this is where it starts to get muddled.
Yeah.
She like passes out, or I think she falls asleep. That's what I think happened.
Yeah.
And she wakes up, and things are not what they seem.
Right. In fact, there's like
And
giant spiders in the movie
yeah,
theater now. She goes out into the lobby and knocks over a gumball machine, and the
yeah,
gumballs turn into eyeballs that are following her. She's running through a hallway that just endlessly loops. She keeps
Yes.
passing the knocked over gumballs, and because the glass is shattered as the gumballs run across the glass, because they're not gumballs, they're eyeballs, they're just bleeding.
Yes.
Um, and then somehow she wakes up and she's outside in like the
Mhm.
sun in a clearing in the forest. Like shit happens, but we don't really know why it happens or how it happens.
Yeah, I don't know how we transitioned from the theater to a forest, but it happened very suddenly and very quickly.
Yeah, like at the end of one chapter she falls and then all
Yeah.
of a sudden she's outside and she's been
Yes.
sleeping in the sun. She's got like a gnarly sunburn.
Hmm.
For very early morning too.
Yes.
But she can't really place where the sun is. And as she's like getting up, something bursts through the ground and grabs her. It's like a gnarled zombie like hand.
Hmm.
So now she's screaming. And
Hmm.
this bitch cries and screams every single chance she gets. I don't know if she really says anything other than screams or cries
Yes.
for at least the first half of the book.
And a similar thing happens in the second one that we'll get into too. It's like there's a very much a biological trait that happens with each female main character
Yeah.
in each book. Anyway, uh, so yeah, she's a screamer. She screams every time something happens. She screams at her own shadow. But I mean, to be fair, if I were in this situation, I would be shitting bricks too. So
Well, yeah,
I get
shit
it.
bricks, but like I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm not gonna make noise and bring things to. But then again,
That's
like
true.
I'm prepared for the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think you and I are a little bit of a doomer. So
Yeah, there's a reason we read shit like this. It does
yeah.
make me roll my eyes every time we have a female antagonist that's just absolutely useless as tits on a board. Like, I'm just like, self preservation much? Like,
Mm,
get some.
negligible. Anyway, so
I don't even know how she meets him.
I don't remember either.
I
I
just know
think
she's running and screaming and
she's
crying.
running and screaming through the forest, and then doesn't she get attacked by something? And
That's,
then he comes in to save her,
I think
but
so.
she's on the way of passing out, so she like barely sees him, and then she wakes up in his bed.
Yeah, there's a
It's like
lot
a
of
cottage
lot.
cut thing.
This all of this is in first person, so of course they're going
Yes.
to announce that it fades to black at the end of every chapter.
Hmm.
Um, uh, and yeah, she wakes up in his bed, but we switch to his point of view for this part.
Hmm.
He's not sure what he's doing with her. He's not sure what to do with her, and he can hear the creatures outside trying to get in.
Yeah.
Um, he's been here for a very long time, and there have been other people to show up,
Hmm.
but rather than just try to survive with them, he either lets the creatures get them or he kills them himself. And there's
Exactly.
something about him that he does not like about himself that he does not want her to see. And he's
Hmm.
really confused on why he didn't just like
Yeah.
himself, her himself. Um,
Yeah.
and thinks that it's just because he feels a little lonely. He's been here for like
Hmm.
15 years, something like
Hmm.
that.
Yep.
So she wakes up. He's been tending her wounds and he routinely tells her, do not leave this room. Like, there's no
Yep.
windows in this room, it's upstairs. Everything has like the way it was described. Let me stop here. Okay, the way it just was described was not very well, but like the sense that I got throughout the whole of the story was everything was kind of like the stuff in the Langoliers. Have you ever read the Langoliers?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so the Langoliers, I believe, and I will get thrashed in the comments, but I don't care. The Langoliers, I believe, is a story by um Stephen King. I don't read a lot of Stephen King because I think he's a hack. Um, but
Hot
this
take. No,
one,
a lot of people think that.
this one is it's the Langoliers are basically the past eaters.
Okay.
So like for instance in this story there's an airplane and they all these people fall asleep, okay? And
Mhm.
they wake up in a world that's just empty. Everything tastes stale, everything smells stale, like everything is as it should be, but like 5 seconds old or something like that.
Mhm.
So the
Interesting.
Langoliers are chasing them because they are in the past. They're in right now's past, and they have to find a way to get back to the present. It turns out the plane flew through a rift in time or something like that, so they fly it back
Uh,
and they
okay.
get back to the present. But the
Hmm.
Langoliers are what eat up the past. So everything in this story that is described, everything is like everything resets um for some reason, but not the stuff that they have with them. Like if
Hmm.
they pick up something and they take it with them, that will
It stays that
stay.
way.
That whatever they picked up and took with them will stay, but it will be replaced and
Okay.
reset
In
where
in the
right.
world.
So like for
Okay.
instance, they go to the
Interesting.
mall. They go to the mall at some point.
They do.
And she's like, "Well, aren't we going to eat like if you've been here for 15 years, how is there still food? Are we going to worry don't do we have to worry about like hunting and gathering food?" He's like, "No, you can take it home. It'll stay in the cupboards, but it'll replenish itself here at the mall." Like it had
Right.
never
It's
left. And
like
I was
the
like,
yeah. It's like a
that doesn't
time
make
rift, time
sense.
suspension. What to me it read like, and I kept imagining this. It read like the Stranger Things, the Upside Down.
Yeah.
Like
It was a
everything
mirror
is.
world.
It's a mirror upside down world, and
Yeah.
there's monsters everywhere. So I was thinking,
Yeah.
oh, this is just the upside down. So
Yeah.
this is what I thought
Um
throughout the whole
and
whole
it
book.
kind of is like it's a ghost of the town that she was just in. Like
Mhm.
the movie theater she woke up in is a mirror, a dark mirror of the movie theater she fell asleep in.
Yeah.
And the mall is the same mall but actually open, like it actually has stuff in it, whereas when she came through, however she came through, the mall had been torn down
Hmm.
and was no longer open. Um, and she figures out she figures it out a lot sooner than he figures it out actually. Like
Yeah.
everything that is in this town is how it was 15, 20 years ago when he initially got to this place.
Hmm.
So she's like, this is his world. He's he's the one that's created this.
Hmm.
Um, so they stick together. He's trying to deal with having company. She's for some reason not only crying and screaming at every point, but like hella sassy all of a sudden.
Yeah,
Like
she's not happy that she's there, and I think she is viewing him as a kidnapper,
yeah,
and
she thinks he did
he's
this on purpose.
for sure, and is super wary of him, which I mean, given her trauma, is valid.
Hmm.
Uh,
So she's just
and
like, kill me and I can get over and out of this place. And he's like, no, if I kill you, you're
right,
definitely staying. Because all of the
yeah,
creatures are all of the people that have come through, and he is just,
killed or
yeah,
have died by
have,
other creatures. Yeah.
right. And the original creatures are people that tormented him as a child. Because,
Hmm.
like, this is where the flashbacks come in.
Yes.
I'm gonna put pause. I hate flashbacks in stories.
Aww.
I do. I think if it was information that should have been in the story, you should just follow along a timeline. That's what a prologue is for. That's what an epilogue is for. Like, those are jumps to either set up or wrap up a story. If you have to have flashbacks in the middle of your story just to give supposition on why shit happened, it shouldn't have been a flashback. It should have been in the story. It should have been a chapter.
It should be in the beginning.
Right. Set it up.
I agree with that.
I the only thing that these flashbacks, that's just my take on flashbacks altogether. These flashbacks were sparse enough. They should have started earlier, and they should have continued all the way through. There was enough that it wasn't jarring every time there was one.
Right.
But they weren't spaced correctly. Like, as soon as we were introduced to the story, like, the prologue should have been a flashback, and then her, and then one with him, and then her, and then we finally meet him, that kind of thing. The ones that I hate the most, though, are the ones that are like, oh, I'm gonna give you 2 flashbacks in a 80 chapter book. I'm just saying, for example, like, we're just gonna put one here, and that's it. Like, what the fuck is the point of that? No. It needs to be consistent. It needs to have a reason, not just be supposition. Okay, unpause. There are flashbacks in this one that tell his traumatic backstory. There's even, I think, 2 flashbacks for her. Now, there's only 192 pages. So the fact that there are so many flashbacks is why I said it should have just been chapters beforehand to set up the story.
Oh, 1,000%. And this is why I got a little bit of a whiplash with the ending. And so, to basically summarize, they fall in love with each other through taking care of each other. I think she saves him towards the end. And
kind of. He can't die.
Kind of.
They find out, he knows.
Right.
She finds out he can't die. And it's because he has created this world of suffering.
Yes. So this world is a manifestation of his trauma, and
we're not going to give away the trauma
here.
We're not going to give away the trauma.
Yeah, we can't talk about it anyway.
No.
It's pretty dark.
It's
so
yeah.
So if you have the big trigger of childhood trauma and SA, then maybe skip this one.
Yeah. I mean, skip it in general. Like, that's just my opinion. Skip this one in general.
It was not okay. I give it a solid 3. I didn't hate it.
You gave it for
again.
You give it a 3 for the story. I'm giving it a 1 for the lack. It needed a proofreader, not just an editor. Because honestly, like, this one, an editor could have gone in and cleared up some of the just setting kind of issues, but a proofreader, someone to go over the grammar, spelling, and the punctuation in particular, was desperately
and there was
needed.
A decent amount of that in this book.
Like, I remember texting you, like, I'm on the 2nd chapter and what the fuck. Like,
and I hadn't started at that time. I was like, oh goodness, not another one.
And the because I think that's all that I said was what the fuck at chapter 2. Like, they're not using quotation marks, they're using apostrophes as quotation marks. There's no
common thing that people do these days. I don't know why, don't ask me why, but I've seen it everywhere.
There's misspellings everywhere. There's lack of punctuation where like, punctuation is used but not correctly.
Right.
And that, to me, is jarring. So
Yeah.
let's remind everyone once again. Cass will vote her stars based on the story. I will vote my
Yes.
stars based on the writing, just the technique,
Yes.
and yeah. So, you give it 3. That's I can see like it has some merit. It needs some
It has
polish.
some merit. It needs polish. It definitely has need. I love the concept. The
Mm-hmm.
concept is fantastic. I have not read that before.
Yeah.
Uh, so, and this is how we'll get into the second book.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I love the author's um, perspective on things. I
Mm-hmm.
think if this book was just a smidge longer and they developed the characters more, I
Yeah.
think this could be like
Again, it just needs a little
bestseller worthy.
polish. Just needs a little
Yeah.
polish, a little cleanup because even towards the end, we'll get towards the end. Um, she has figured out, like, she has totally told him, like, I know that this is you. You've done this whole
Mm-hmm.
thing. You could send me home. He said, no, I really can't. I've tried to get out. She's like, well, then I'm going to take the
The
shortcut.
easy way out. Yeah, exactly.
And he's like, no, you don't understand. You are not leaving me. And if you do off yourself, then you will be here for all of time with me. You'll just be
Mm-hmm.
rotting. And I don't know if you'll be able to experience the what is going to happen to you. I don't know what will happen to your soul. I don't know if you're going
Yeah,
to
he
pass
doesn't know.
on
Yeah.
or if you're going to stay here and experience everything I'm going to do with you because I can't live without you now.
Mm-hmm.
Um so she's like, okay, okay. Well, I don't want to be stuck here. So fine, we'll play it your way. We'll just play house. And they do that for a while. Um, and she's just like plotting away in her head. Okay, so everything goes away at the cliffs because there's a set of cliffs. Um, Maybe what I need to do is incapacitate him and then I'll make it to the cliffs.
Mm-hmm.
And there we go. So she climbs on top of him
Yeah.
and then like guts him while they're
Yes.
mid Humpty Hump.
Mm-hmm.
And she tells him she is sorry. She gives him a kiss, leaves her note, and takes off. And she notices that nothing is actually trying to get her. They're trying to herd her.
Yeah.
So she gets to the cliff, and because he can't die, because this is his world, um, he follows her over the edge, and they both wake up in the movie theater
Mm-hmm.
on the right side of the world.
On the right side of the world, and he is still the same age as he
As he
was
was
when
when he
he
went
left.
in. So
It's
then,
not 15 years later. He's not
no.
like a 30-year-old
Well, he
man,
was
30,
already like
40-year-old
30
man.
years old when he went in.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah. See,
All right.
he went in when he was like 17, 18, something like that.
Yeah.
So he comes out and he's I they never go into whether or not he aged inside the wherever inside the
I don't think he
mindscape.
did.
Um
I think it all implies that he is the same age.
so they both come out the same movie usher that sold her the ticket is like, you've been gone for 3 years. Everybody, we just buried you like 3 weeks ago. And like there's a little shrine outside the movie theater. Her
Mm-hmm.
mom is her mom is gone. No, her dad died. Her dad was dying of cancer. Her mom had
Yeah.
her declared dead. Um so she doesn't exist anymore. He hasn't existed for
For a
18
while.
years now.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't know what to do. They call her uncle, who she was really close with, Which is weird that we only hear about the uncle towards the end because, like,
Yeah.
during the whole story, she's going on about her best friend. We don't
Mhm.
talk about the best friend after she comes back. Like, fuck him. Um,
Right. Oh, I completely forgot about him.
yes, Josh, the best
Poor
friend,
Josh.
who was
It's
like,
always the
you
best
should
friend.
go and. I'm not gonna do that to you. If I disappear and I come back, I'm gonna be like, "Hey, bitch, let's go get some coffee and I need a book."
Oh, yeah. 1,000%. Are you
Oh
kidding me?
my
I'd be so upset.
gosh. So they call her uncle, who has inherited all of everything that her father would have left to her. For some reason, surviving spouse laws don't exist in this world, but whatever. Um, and the epilogue is them living in Italy, owning a cafe. Like, um,
I don't
Kai,
know how we got there,
I don't
but
either.
okay.
Kai, the dude, Kai, um, he's getting better about being around people. It's been like 4 or 5 years at this point. They're just in Italy owning a coffee shop, and her
Mhm.
uncles like provided them the money to do this, and they have new names now, and that's how it ends.
Yep. And it's a very anticlimactic ending. Yep, she shows up, and that's it.
So at the end of this book, I was like, okay, I don't know if I'm gonna read the second one because I like, well, because like
Well,
I
okay, so you were reading it, you finished it before I think you even started the first one.
yeah,
So you're like, "Oh girl, I don't know about the second one." And then I think the next day you started it because you were a powerhouse, you powered through it, and you're
yeah,
like, "Oh, this one's much better."
yes. So I wasn't gonna read it if I opened up the synopsis and it was like, oh, somehow they're back in that world. I was just gonna be like,
Yeah.
nope, sorry, next. Um,
Mhm.
but the second one, also by Fern. I'm sorry, Maggie Fern,
Yes,
is
Maggie
called
Fern.
Welcome Home.
Mm-hmm.
And if you guys have made it this far, this is the story you should read definitely of the two. Um,
Yes,
it's
it's
been
so good.
it is okay.
I know.
So our main characters are Cora and her husband Oliver. Oliver has been missing for almost 6 months when he just suddenly comes home. Um, Cora has been implicated in his disappearance for the last 6 months, and she is just tired. So when she's at home, uh, she's just talking to her sister or her mother on the phone, and they're like,
Mm-hmm.
"Come on, he's got to pop up somewhere."
Right. He always goes on these business trips, so that's
Right.
yeah.
And she's
And
like,
you get the
"Well,"
impression that she's very anxious
she's like, "Yeah,
about
I
something.
don't know." She's like, I don't know what I should do." And they're like, "Well, they haven't found him, so you're still technically married. He still could show up." She's like, "Yeah, but I don't really," like, in her head she's like, "I don't know if I really want to," because what do we get? A flashback of him throwing her against walls and shit.
Yes. Yeah. She and
Um,
he's extremely abusive.
mhm.
We get
Um,
a point of view
uh,
flashback of him.
her, well, she's sitting at home. It's her
Yeah.
birthday,
Oh, it's
and
her birthday.
it's like 2 a.m. and he comes home and says, "I'm leaving you. I got someone else pregnant. Someone could actually give me children." And she's like, "What?" And he's just drunk off his ass, and he like slaps her around and shit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um and she comes out of it enough for like the front door to open and him to come through the door, and he's like, "Hey honey, I'm home." And she just like, I think again it's like another fade to black type thing. She just passes out. Um
No, so the way that he comes back is it's a 6 months, I think you're right.
yeah.
She's in the shower
Oh,
and
that's
he
right.
comes
Okay.
in and he opens the door to the
Mhm.
bathroom and she screams and then passes out.
Right. Um, when she comes to, he's taking care of her. He's being very sweet. She's like, you should not be here. And he's like, of course I should be here, darling. I love you. Why wouldn't I be here? And like, it comes
Mm-hmm.
across as very love bomby.
Yes, it
And
does. So I was like,
I was like, oh,
automatically, I'm
what the
suspicious.
hell
I'm
is
like, this,
going
what is
on?
going on? Obviously, this guy is, yeah, he's just a narcissist love bombing, and he
Yes.
came back from a business trip,
Like
and
he's just
he had
been
a change
gone
of
for
heart,
6 months and
and he's only going to do this
like
for a week, and then he's going to go back to his normal
something is
habits.
there's a reason that he's doing this. Like
Mhm.
there's a benefit for him because that's what I feel like. There's like some kind of benefit for him to be acting like this all of a sudden. And like
Yeah,
in her head she's like, he can't be here. There's no way in hell he could be here. And
no,
we're
not
not
him.
she and like there's something that she picks up. She's like, that's not my husband. That looks
Mhm.
like my husband,
It's not him.
but it's not him. There's something else. There's something wrong with him.
Mhm.
Um Come to find out, there is something wrong with him, and it's not her husband. In
Mhm.
fact, it's like a skinwalker type thing
It is.
that has taken over his visage so
Mhm.
that he could get close to her because this being became utterly infatuated with Oliver's wife. So
Mhm.
somehow this never became clear because it's
It's
later
not explicitly
explained.
laid out.
Yeah,
It's
it's later
not.
explained that this skinwalker, his name is Vaz something, like it's this huge name, he just goes by Vaz. um he has to actually have like a tangible piece of the DNA of the person to become that person. So I'm really confused on how he got Oliver's skin
Mm-hmm.
if Oliver's in the flower garden in the front yard
Yeah, she
because
killed him.
she ganked his ass.
Yes.
She got a little too roughed up, ended up in the kitchen, got one of the knives. He was coming
Mhm.
back for more, and she just was not having it. And
To be fair, it was self-defense
yes,
at this
we
point.
relive this flashback in tandem with whatever is going on right now because she realizes it's not Oliver. So he's like cornered her in the kitchen, is trying to like love up on her, and
Yes.
she's like thinking about that night and finds the same knife
Yep.
and tries to, you know,
Try
again.
it again.
She's like, it happened, it worked really well the first time, I thought, like let's try it again. And she sticks him, and the vase is like, it's gonna take a little bit more than that. um
Yes.
but you can stick me as
Definitely.
many times as you want, I will still love you.
Yeah.
And she's just like,
What is this creature? What is
what
going
the
on? Obviously, she's
fuck?
having a meltdown.
Yeah, she thinks
Oh,
she's
and like I
going
alluded to before,
crazy.
the person, Felicity was a screamer and yeller. Cora is a vomiter.
Yeah, she fucking vomits all over the place. Like every
All the
time.
time.
She can't stop puking. And at first, like, I thought it was like, oh, bitch is pregnant. No.
Right? I thought that was
That's the only
the
time
trope that we were gonna go down.
anybody vomits in a fucking book is when they're pregnant. Gag
No,
me.
not Cora. She
No.
just gags, and whenever she's anxious. And to be fair, she has been living with this lie for 6 months,
6 months.
and she knows that the feds are down her throat.
Yep.
And,
There's a
uh,
detective that's like on her ass.
oh
Um,
yeah.
Even though Oliver has shown up and has given the
Mhm.
given a statement. No, I was just in Vegas having a
Yeah.
great time. And again, this is not Oliver. Oliver's dead and pushing daisies, quite literally. Vaz
Hmm.
is like, no, I'm just in Vegas, having a good time, and now I'm back. And, they were like, well, how do you explain not having a wallet? He's like, I'm independently wealthy. I'm a surgeon. I don't
Right.
like.
I don't need this.
I don't.
Yeah.
Well, your
He
car is
probably
still
has
here.
crypto.
He's
He
like, I
probably has all
flew to
kinds of,
Vegas because they're in
yeah.
this story takes place in another town altogether. Like it is all intents and purposes. It is its own story within this really weird, fucked up universe. Where shit just happens and there's absolutely no explanation for any of it. Um, so like they're in Colorado. There he was like, I flew. I didn't need a car. Like, yeah, it's close enough to take a car, but I didn't need one. I just flew. And this detective is just on Cora's ass. So even after Oliver has given his statement, the detective was like, "Listen, we have video of you 2 hours away in a national park,
Getting rid of
getting rid
some
of
evidence,
a knife and Oliver's
his
wallet and cell
belongings.
phone." First of all, I don't think there's just trail cams sponsored by the National Forestry just pointed at, paths in a river where she's dumping shit.
That's not how that works. It would have to be a very, very well populated area.
Right.
And
And
it's
two
not
hours
like
away. Like how would they
it's
know
not
to
like in the
check?
UK or England where they have CCTV everywhere.
Oh, I just want to
That's
know
not a
like
thing in the
how
US.
how
It's
did they
not.
know to go 2 hours away to that and check that particular forest, that particular
They traced
trail?
cell phone, I think, and then they have eyewitnesses of her leaving
Yeah,
the area and then like stopping at a gas station. So they kind of, I think that's believable to me. I think that aspect was believable to me because I've seen them reach conclusions with less evidence. So, but having
that's
the
true.
video footage is a little weird. That's
Yeah.
a little weird. Uh, but
It would be
and then
circumstantial if anything. Like
what
what would be
isn't
available.
believable is them not dropping the case after him coming back.
Well, remember they did. This detective had a wild hair up her ass and a bone and
Yeah.
an axe to grind and was just like, "No, your story's not checking out. Something's going on." And everybody's
Mm-hmm.
like, even Oliver,
He's like right here.
he's yeah, the her sergeant's like, "He's here. Obviously she didn't kill him." She's like, "No, no, no, she killed him." And Oliver's just standing like there and like he's
Like, hi.
okay. So
Sure.
she's just like snooping around, and Cora gets used to this new Oliver, to Voz.
Mm-hmm.
And they set up a plan. Basically, they're gonna just stick around for a couple of years, maybe a year, maybe two, and then they'll just go away and they won't have to deal with this Oliver situation again. Like, Voz can be himself. They can take
Mm-hmm.
on a new skin for him, something. Because she has discovered that although he is a monster, like he's actually
Mm-hmm.
removed the skin,
He's
an
monster.
actual
He's not.
monster.
He like unzips the skins that he takes over, and he takes over multiple skins. By the way, it's
Yeah,
not
in this
just
story, it's not
Oliver's.
just Oliver in this story.
He's like 2 or 3 times her size, like a 10 foot something
Yeah, he's
monster,
like
and
see
he's
through.
huge. He's all elongated face. He kind of, I think, what in the image in my mind was like was it Marvel, like Venom character?
So
Is it Venom
they
Marvel or
kept
DC? I think they're
no,
DC. I don't know.
Venom is Marvel.
That's what I thought.
Because he's with Spider Man.
Yeah.
He's in the Spider Man universe. Was discovered by Fantastic Four, and I'm really letting my freak flag fly right now.
But that's the image that I got with the elongated tongue and like
Yes, but
big
his
and
skin is like translucent
and
and see
like
through and blue
quartzy or
blood. Yeah, like
yeah,
very grayscale kind of coloring.
yeah,
And it freaks her out for a minute because he's also kind of like cold, if I
yeah,
remember correctly, like very corpse like. Um,
yes,
but she
creepy,
like,
very weird.
but like he's like, no, your darkness can meld with mine. We'll do fine together. And she's like, okay, yeah, maybe we can do this. Maybe this will be
Yeah.
all right. So yeah,
She
they
warms up to him because he's treating her the way that Oliver should have treated her.
mhm.
Uh,
And the whole
and
reason that like the very first scene is actually Oliver meeting Cora when they're
mhm.
children, like in middle school, high school,
I
something
think
like
it's
that.
high school. It
And
was a football field, and he's
right,
some crazy, like, I don't
star
know,
quarterback or
linebacker. He's,
something.
yeah, quarterback, linebacker, whatever. He's
And
just full of himself, clearly a narcissist. He has a younger brother that
no,
he's trying to
older brother. It
upstage.
was the older brother
Oh,
that
older. It was
died.
older.
That had just recently died. Cora was the love of his older brother's life.
Mm-hmm.
They had dated. Cora was very introverted.
Mm-hmm.
Not the prettiest girl, he admits in that first chapter.
Mm-hmm.
But it was Arthur. I think that was his brother's name. Arthur's.
Brother's name. It was Arthur's love. So
Mm-hmm.
he admits to himself that he has to have her
Right.
because
Because it was
it's his
Arthur's.
final fuck you to his older brother.
Right.
Because he was
Who he
always trying
loved,
to.
but he really, really wanted to impress. And he couldn't because he was
Yeah.
dead. Um,
Yep.
so when they get to the point just before Oliver's disappearance, that they are trying to have children. They've been married for like 10 years at this point.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to have kids and she can't.
Mm-hmm.
Oliver starts
She took the
becoming
test.
very cruel. They try IVF and all that
Mm-hmm.
kind of stuff and it's just not working. Oliver becomes very, very cruel.
Very cruel. And he was already cheating on her.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like, because
He's
he's
never
just
loved
full of
her, he
himself.
says.
Never loved her. Yeah.
That was not the point of them getting
So,
married. Uh,
yeah.
and the fact that she can't even give him children now, he has absolutely no use for her.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I fucking cried during that whole part because
Oh, it's
that's
upsetting.
hella triggering for me. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, that I had to take a moment. I was just like, not even like crying like right now. I don't know if you can see
Mm-hmm.
my eyes all glassy. I was full on ugly
Oh.
crying because I was like,
Mm-hmm.
that poor woman.
Yeah, this horrible. Treated horrible
And that's
forever.
that's when she decides I can't do this anymore, and I'm
And good for her.
not going
I'm
to.
sorry, good for her.
And like she's thinking to herself, I can't let anybody else, that other woman, it shouldn't have to deal with this kind of abuse either. Um, but yeah, that's not the first time he cheats on her. But it is the last time. We
Yeah.
never hear about what happens with the woman who is
Daughter.
pregnant.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, but we do get some of his other affair partners do show up.
Mm-hmm.
And it does not end well for them because the new Oliver Voss just scares the living shit out of them right in front of the
Yes.
detective, unfortunately. So
Mm-hmm.
in the end, the detective knows something is going on, knows that Oliver is not Oliver, and is really
Mm-hmm.
trying to pin Oliver's disappearance on Cora when
She shows up in the middle of the night to dig up the flower garden.
yes.
Vaz is not having it. He said,
Uh-uh.
"Okay, this woman's dead now."
Yeah. And
Uh,
so
and this is okay. I have a huge issue with this part
okay.
because maybe we just realize, and then maybe again, same issue with the first book. I think it could be just a smidge longer, and they can develop the characters more. If they
Yeah.
develop the detective and her backstory a little bit more,
Yeah, because
this
she
would
has
make a
like a
lot more
wife
sense. Because she has a
and
wife, but she is still trying to prove to
she's like
someone that she's
obsessive,
worth being there.
right?
And nowhere in her right mind would she be doing this right now. This is a career-ending move.
Mm-hmm.
Like, still being on this case is a career-ending move, and she's
Yeah.
already gotten to her that level, why would she be doing this?
Yeah.
So we need a better motivation,
For
way
why
better
she just
motivation
like
for why she's
I
there.
get why they included it to wrap up the story, but
Yes.
there's no real logical line between her being
She
obsessive
was
about
already
this
scared of
case.
him. She was scared
Right.
of the monster, and she's like,
Right.
okay, so I'm just gonna show up alone and dig up
Right.
the flower garden. Stupid.
So
Very dumb.
Vaz, we find out a couple of things. Like Vaz is, we already knew this in the beginning. Vaz is very susceptible to sounds and scents, sounds in particular. And he tells Cora, like, her cell phone rings. I think it was something happened. The alarm on her cell phone went off, and it caused his ears to start bleeding or something.
Yeah.
So the detective shows up, and she's trying to shoot him in the middle of the garden because Cora and Vaz were getting pretty busy when this bitch just showed up. He heard her come through the front garden, thought it was animals, and then heard somebody unlatch the gate.
Mm-hmm.
That's how he knew somebody was there.
Yeah, because he's sensitive. He's got
He got
the
he
monster
got the
hearing.
good hearing.
Yeah.
So he comes down the stairs, goes outside, sees the detective rooting around in the flower bed. And Vaz can already tell that she has gotten far enough down that he can already smell Oliver.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not going to be too much further before the detective starts smelling Oliver. So he does a jump scare. She whirls around, starts backing up towards the house, tries to like shoot him, and Cora comes out and just like domes her with the
Well,
shovel or something.
no. So she runs. So the detective runs back and is like, Cora, Cora, there's a monster. It's not Oliver, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, that's
And
right.
she is
Cora is playing
feigning.
along.
Cora plays along for a little bit until she gets her into the house.
Mm-hmm.
And then she kills her. So
Yes, and something
yeah.
like they pull the pin from a personal alarm, those ones that
Mm-hmm.
like make a fuck ton of noise and like hurt everybody in the vicinity's hearing.
Mm-hmm.
But it actually like stuns Vaz, and he's like bleeding from the nose, bleeding from the
Yeah.
ears, bleeding from the mouth. So they put a pin in it, and they because of that loud noise, neighbors are calling that and the yelling, because there's yelling of obviously, have called the cops, and the cops are coming. So they make
Yes.
it look like the detective B and E'd and they were defending themselves, which of course they kind of were, but
They kind
also
of were. I mean,
like
she was trespassing and
and but
doing very illegal things. But
Foz is also a monster.
Boz is
And
a monster. They have that context. So,
yes.
but it obviously looks like they were defending themselves. However, the neighbor who was the affair partner is still
Yes.
missing.
Yes.
And he is to blame now.
Yes.
Oliver is to blame because of the
because there
obvious
was an
affair
affair
that they dug up.
Right.
So
So
there's still heat on them, even though the detective's gone. There's still heat on them, and then I think they decide to move.
they decide to move. Like Vaz's father shows up because they've
That's
made a
right.
mess, and
Yeah.
Vaz's father takes over the affair partner's position. He wears her
right.
skin, which I don't know how the hell he did that when
I don't know
Cora's the
either.
one that killed her. Like they cut up her body and buried it next to Oliver in the flower garden. So I guess maybe Vaz's father got a piece of the dead body out of the flower garden.
That's all they need. They just like a tiny little piece, and then they can do the whole skin.
Yeah.
So, which is creepy and
creepy as
cool.
hell. So they decide that town's too hot. They wait it out for a year until the affair partner shows up a couple of months later. And then they decide to sell the house It was a very nice house because, again, Oliver, when he was alive,
Yep.
was a surgeon.
Mm-hmm.
And they move out into the middle of nowhere. And Vaz doesn't have to wear a skin, he can be himself.
Yep.
And they allude, because all of this is interconnected, which I don't know how this one was connected to the last book, but whatever.
I don't
Um,
think it is really, but
but they allude that there are other monsters in the surrounding
yeah.
forest, just leaving them alone, letting them be.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it
Live and let
ends.
live. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a joy to read. I loved it.
It was,
I
compared to the first one, this one was
oh yeah.
fantastic.
I
Um,
was enraptured. I was like,
it went by
oh,
very
oh.
quickly. I told you, I started it, and then I remember texting you saying you're gonna want to read the second one for sure. Get through the first one so you can get to the second one. Okay, so Miss Storyteller, Story Rater, whatever you want to call it, what is your overall rating for book two?
I loved this one. I think uh, in reality, it's probably a 4.5, but I want to give it a full 5 stars because of how much I enjoyed it. I will be purchasing this one. This will be on my shelf.
Okay, you gonna
Uh,
like an actual hard copy or
oh yeah,
a
a hard
digital,
copy.
a purchased digital copy for the Kindle?
No, I'm gonna get a hard copy. I
So
like this one. I want to read this one again in the future when I forget about it.
so
So,
writing wise, the grammar was a little bit better in this one.
mhm,
We still had the same formatting issues as we did in the first book. Um, Again, punctuation wasn't always used how it should be, or where it needed to be. But it was prose sense. It was much better. So last one I gave a one. The first book I gave a one for the writing. This time I'm gonna give it a good 2.5. I think 2.5 stars
mhm,
for writing.
mhm.
Okay, we didn't ask these questions for book one, but if there are corrections, what would they be? Let's go for the first one now
The
showing.
first one, okay.
Yeah.
Uh, oh goodness. Story wise, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think the flashback should have been in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I think it could have been longer with the characters more developed. A
Yeah.
little bit more of a backstory and motivations. Uh, this one, it was just a little boring, and the characters were one note.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so just a little bit more development. I really loved the whole upside down kind of feel to it
Yeah.
and going into a different realm. If they developed the lore a little bit more too of that, again, just a smidge longer, like another 100 pages.
Yeah.
Develop the lore, develop the characters, put the flashbacks in the beginning,
Yeah. Make them their own
and then
chapters.
exactly.
Okay, so then number three, what was a major plot hole
Uh, hmm.
for the first book, I should say?
For the first book,
Yeah.
I always forget that you asked this question and I'm not prepared for it. uh,
I'll write them on a poster board and stick them right in front of your camera. I love
right,
that.
right. I swear, I could just write it down right now. I'll be like, we're gonna ask for plot holes. Um, I think the major plot hole is how, like, why is this person, why is Kai a magical being? Like, how did his memories turn into this world that encaptured
Others.
keep others into it?
Yeah.
Is it the theater that's the issue
Well,
because
there
of the trauma happening at the theater?
I think
Is
that was
it
part of it, but
him?
it's never really,
It's it's never
it's
explained.
never fleshed out.
And yeah, which is cool. I want to know. You can keep some of it a mystery, but having it 80% be a mystery is a little unsatisfying
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so then for book 2, if there are corrections, what would they be in book 2 in Welcome Home?
in Welcome Home, this is the big one for me because in the flashback they allude to the older brother dying.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking the whole time I'm reading this book is that this monster is a manifestation of
Me
the dead
too.
brother's spirit
Yes.
coming back,
Oh my gosh. I
already
was
being
thinking
attracted
the
to
same thing
Cora.
because it
Yeah,
was just
already being
like
attracted to her
he's
and is like
but he's not just
hopelessly in love with
attracted.
her.
He is absolutely
Yeah,
enthralled
in
with her.
love.
And he
Yes.
tells her I no, he doesn't tell her. He tells us because again, this
He
is
tells
all in
us
first fucking
because it's
person.
his, yeah, first person. Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, how heartbreaking that ending would be. Like, why couldn't you just
right,
develop that little smidge of lore? Be like, hey, this is me, or he reveals his true name to be,
right,
forgot his name. Yeah,
Arthur. Um,
Arthur.
yeah, I thought the
Or
same thing. I
they
thought,
allude to little things that Arthur did when he was a kid, or
well, because
that
like
wasn't Oliver but was Arthur.
we the reader don't even know the creature's name until 5 to 7 chapters in. Like we don't even get to know about it.
Yeah.
He doesn't introduce himself to her as himself. He's just he's just Oliver. But I was thinking the same thing. I was like, this is a homunculus of Arthur.
That's
Like
what I thought.
that
And
would be
when they revealed his
awesome.
name to be Vaz, I was like, oh,
Oh,
well, that's
well,
sad. So
yeah,
where are they going with that little bit of
right,
information? Why did they sprinkle that in, have us think that this is what's happening, and
right,
then just throw it out the window? That
right.
was
Like,
frustrating
why
to
have
me.
that tease? No, I agree. I
Exactly.
agree so much. I agree. Okay, number 3. What's a major plot hole for book 2 coming home or welcome home? I'm sorry.
I think that the what I was talking about with the detective, that is my
Yeah.
biggest plot
Yeah,
hole.
like why would she, cuz she is terrified. Like the
She,
there
she's
is a
terrified.
point where Oliver or no, Vaz wears the detective's skin into the the police department and
Mhm.
destroys the evidence that she has against Cora.
Yes.
And makes it a point to be seen on the security camera out of hours, with evidence, pardon me, and interacts with other people. Breakfast is still, oh, um, so like he
We had a
sets
big
her up.
breakfast, guys.
Yeah, we had a really big breakfast before we did this. We met each
Yep.
other at the diner.
Mm.
Next time we need to do mimosas.
Oh,
I'll
yes.
make my husband drive for mimosas. Mimosas. Um, we should do. Oh my gosh, we should totally have a bitch and stitch for books, and we'll just sit there with mimosas and do a podcast. It'll be like a thing. Okay, that would be
We need to.
awesome. Like some
That sounds
beanbag
fun.
chairs and your cats. Tell tell your husband we need that other room.
Yeah, right. I
We'll just
swear.
fill
We
it with
do.
love
We do.
sacks and the cats and our mic stands, and there we go.
Perfect.
Yeah. Anyways, so I can't even remember what I was saying. Oh yeah, so
Sorry.
so he totally sets up the officer, the detective, and she gets her ass reamed, and she is looking at the footage of him as her, like, I know I wasn't there. I know I didn't do that. It's got to be whatever it was I saw in the alley with that woman. And she is petrified. She's like, is this gonna is it gonna come after my wife? Is it, all this kind of stuff. So to have turn around in like 2 chapters her just showing up at 3 o'clock in the morning, poking around their house. Why? Like
I don't know.
that, yeah, so I would agree that is a major plot hole. Do you have any questions for me? I feel like we
Uh,
answered both of these, both sets
we
of
did.
questions
We did.
together. So, do you have any
Yeah,
questions for me?
not that come to mind. If you were to change any aspect of the story, of the first one, would you? Like
Yes.
story wise? Yeah.
Yes. No matter how many times Kai tells Felicity that she's not going anywhere, and even if she were to kill herself, this is what I didn't understand. Okay, he is emphatic about her not leaving. Like, she cannot leave. She still tries to kill herself
Yeah.
to get out. Like, no matter how many
Why?
times they've talked about it.
Yeah.
Um Now I get, like, she trusts him in every other sense except for this one.
Hmm.
Like, that doesn't make sense to me. When, just logically, when a person starts to doubt another person, everything that they say becomes suspicious.
Hmm.
Like, you just can't help yourself. Like, if I lost trust in my husband in one thing, I'm going to doubt everything else in
That comes
that
after.
comes
Yeah.
after it. Like, that's just human nature. So how can she trust him in every other sense except for this one? That doesn't It's not logical. um it just doesn't,
Yeah.
like, it just, I
I
was like,
agree.
it why would she even continue? But I mean, again, we these are independently published. They're very good premise. I think it does need a little polish. Maybe an editor could go in and help clean it up a little bit for both of these stories.
Mhm.
But that was our October read, guys.
Yeah. How
um
did you like it?
we
We want to
we
know how
really want to
you
know,
felt.
what what is your plan for Halloween? Since this is October, we're talking about Halloween stories. Like, do you have other books you're trying to read before the end of October? Is it
Hmm.
nothing? Like, you said something at breakfast. You said that you were just in the dark, dank type of stuff right now. Um,
I read these two. I was like, I need more of this. I also just recently read Cute but Psycho. Do not ask me what the name of the author is. I can look that up for you real quick. But
you told me to read it, but I don't know if I'm.
that one is
Mm.
really dark, very filthy. So if you're a little bit, it's really bad.
I
Anyway,
I
I
have
enjoyed
a
it a
I
lot
have a
though.
lot of books from Once Upon. I have 3 books from Once Upon a Book Club right now. 2 of them are Halloween themed. One of them is actually from last year, and then I have my October read for Once Upon a Book Club that I need to get through. Which I'm actually, now that I've been sitting on it, I'm kind of excited for. It's like a '90s grunge band story. So
Yeah, I saw the unboxing for that. It
it
looks
it
good.
it,
I
it
love.
I'm kind of excited. Like I said, the more that I've been ruminating on it, I'm actually kind of jazzed to read it. I've just finished, I should say, because my ass got up hella early. Finished the first
Yeah.
book for the Dragon's Gift trilogy for our
Hmm.
series discussion. So I do have to read the second one. But I don't know if I really want to either. Like, I the first book was a very quick read. The second one, though, like, I feel like it's gonna. There's this thing, okay, that I've noticed happening recently. The first book, I cannot put it down. The second book becomes boring as fucking dirt.
Oh no. That.
I read the Ever King recently. The first book I went by very quickly. I finished the second one. I started the second
Hmm.
one on
Hmm.
Sunday last week. I finished the second one on Friday this week.
Oh,
Like,
geez. That's
no,
long
I'm
for
sorry,
you.
Saturday this week.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not good. It went from, oh my gosh, I can't wait to find out what's happening, to, oh my god, this is so boring. And that
I
is
hate
I
that.
think that's what you and I are running up against. I know you keep saying that you're a slow reader, but I don't think that's the case. I think we just need to find something that actually makes you want to turn the page and not put it down, because we didn't have that kind of trouble with Brutes of Bristolbrook. That you got done with those two books in a weekend. I don't think I've
That's the problem. I think I'm
ever.
extremely picky in what I like. I think I have extremely specific tastes. And I have a hard time reading things that I do not get into. I think to myself, oh, there's other things I could be doing, and this is boring. I'm stopping. So,
Yeah.
um,
So I
my willpower is less than yours.
so
It's in
I
the
think
dirt.
I think so when people are like, I just couldn't get through it, it's because something is just not grabbing their interest and holding it. So I don't know if I should take a break for the series. I probably should, so you can catch up. But I think I'm gonna move over to one of the physical books because I
Okay.
have so many.
Do it. I
Um
have so many I have to do too. I think for our upcoming November read, I think I'm going to choose probably. Oh, it's your choice this time. You
you
should choose one of your physical copies because
well,
I have a stack to get through as well.
I do have I have two physical copies. Because I got them. I got two special editions, actually, two different special editions. A Fate
Mhm.
Inked in Blood is what our November read's gonna
Ooh,
be. It is a romantasy, if I remember correctly, set in
I've been
like
wanting to read
the
this one.
Norse Raider slash Viking era. It does have some magic. And I will lend you a copy because I have two of them
Yay!
bitches. Um,
Excellent.
on top of that, we have been discussing something that we want to share with you guys, and the bestie is going to get some in her boo basket this year. Shut up, you're getting a boo basket. Um,
She spoils me.
we are going to start reading and reviewing some retro romance novels. So
Mhm.
please look out for that. I have a couple that I'm giving the bestie that I actually have had since the 90s. And we're going to read them together. They're not always dark. In fact, most often than not, they're not dark at all. But they
No.
are traditionally published hardbound books, and you can usually find them in any of your local used bookstores. So please shop locally, please shop sustainably, and
Yeah,
I think that's it for our discussion this month. We made
it
good time.
is.
We thought we were going to go an hour and a half, but we didn't. We really didn't. So I love you. Thank you for inviting us to
I
breakfast
love you
this morning.
too. Of
And of
course,
course,
girl.
thank
Anytime.
you for discussing books with me today. Do you have a book recommendation for me? Because if not, I got a list for you.
I have one. It's the one I mentioned earlier. It's Cute But Psycho by Beatrix Hollow. That's the
Nice.
author's name.
All right. Well, since I'm going to take that one, it is on my TBR, to be honest, because you told me about it before and I immediately put it on the list.
Yep.
I have one for you. It is a romantasy, it is a
Yes.
series, and it is a retelling of Beauty and the Beast, and it is called
Okay.